What is up guys, my name is MipZ and welcome back for yet another League of Legends video. So today we're playing JHIN, and JHIN is a very fun ADC and actually one of my old main ADCs. I loved playing this guy. He's extremely fun, and the reason for this is that he's very different from most other ADCs. His basic attacks are very odd, and this is actually one of the reasons why it's a champion that I would recommend for a lot of people playing ADC. If you're a good ADC player, then this one, because his attacks are kind of strange, which for some reason not a lot of people play him, and a lot of people don't really know how he works and the damage they can expect from him. So if you're good at playing this guy, then you can really surprise your enemy and get some pretty easy kills, at least if you're playing at a lower elo. And lower elo, ooh, okay, that's bad. And with lower elo, I mean somewhere around silver, gold, and maybe early plat, because a lot of people won't really know what to expect, so you might be able to catch people off guard, and you're gonna do a heavy chunk of damage and really surprise them. So who would I recommend this champion for? Personally, and of course take this with a grain of salt, at the end of the day it really just comes down to how you feel about it. And if this is like the champ that makes the game fun for you, then you should pick him no matter what I say. But this is just to give you an idea of how easy it is gonna be for you to pick him up and perform well. So for this, I would say this champion is not an ADC. Oh, for someone, oh, it's actually really well played by my teammate and really terrible by me. Let's see, he has 130. I might almost be able to like just flash flame, but never mind, won't do it. But this champion is pretty difficult, and the reason for this is that he has such a slow attack rate, and as you guys can see, he has his revolver, and these things you see above his head is basically the bullets in his chamber. So this in a sense means that every time that you use all the shots, he needs to reload. This takes 2.5 seconds. So yeah, it can be pretty difficult for a new player to farm on him and also figure out when you can trade on him. Oh, let's get this kill. Nice. Alright, won't get the kill, but we got a good chunk off, and they used all their summoners. That's really nice. So, that aside, just really quickly recapping, I would recommend this champ for someone who is either mediocre at ADC or intermediate, or of course, just if you find the champ really fun, but it is going to be harder for you if you're not very experienced, at least as an ADC player, because he is pretty difficult and he doesn't have any mobility. So you're gonna get caught out pretty easily if you don't know how to position correctly. But with that said, if you find him fun and this is the guy you want to play, go for it, because he is actually really fun. But let's talk a little bit about his abilities. First of all, we have his passive, and his passive is whoop. I might have to back this guy up. His passive is what is called Whisper, and for those of you who didn't already guess it, then Whisper is the name of his gun, because this guy is a gunslinger. It's pretty freaking cool. Whoop, get some damage in there. But he is a gunslinger, and what his passive does is it gives him this revolver, which he has, and this revolver has 4 shots in its chamber. Every time he shoots, one of the bullets are used. Oh, this might be really good actually. Nice. Every time he shoots, one of his bullets is used, and the last one, the purple one you guys see here, that one gives him actually a shot that deals a lot of damage. And when I say a lot of damage, I mean an insane amount of damage. First of all, the last shot always, and I mean always, critical hits, which means that first of all, if you have some good damage, you're gonna do a lot of damage. You can really one-shot, two-shot people with this thing. And secondly, it also deals damage, or gives a bonus that deals damage based on the enemy's percentage HP, health, for those who don't really know. It gives damage based on health. And this is pretty insane because he is... This last shot will literally just take out a huge chunk even of tanks, and he can really burst people down in just about a split second. This champion, however, I would really, because of this, you almost have to have a support that can stall people, because you don't get anything from attack speed, or you do get something from attack speed. We'll get into that part, but you don't get actual attack speed. You don't attack faster from having attack speed on JHIN. He's as slow as always. Whoop. He's as slow as he always is, and he has to reload every 4 shot. So he is pretty difficult in that sense. I'm gonna see if I can just trick this guy. I think we might be able to. I can slow him. Whoop. That's gonna be nice. Okay. I won't be able to get out. Alright. Shouldn't have used my flash. Everything else was fine. But he works best with supports that can somewhat stall the engage for you. Or at least like crowd control and keep people a bit of on a distance from you. Just because he doesn't have any dashes. He doesn't have any mobility that allows him to run away. Well, he has some mobility, but it's not really. We'll get into that portion. But he doesn't have an ability that just allows him to run away. Oh, we're gonna be able to snare that guy. There we go. All right. They're really chasing hard. 4 seconds till my snare's ready. 3, 2, 1. Gotta make sure we hit. Oh, okay, she died just before. So, okay, so let's just really, I'm sorry it got so split up talking about the passive. The passive gives him the gun gives him 4 shots in each chamber. The last shot deals a heavy chunk of damage, and that damage is also based on maximum HP, which means that this ability, or this last shot, deals so much damage, and it always crits. Additionally, it allows JHIN to every time he, god damn it, it's like we're fighting all the time. It allows him to like every time he critical hits, he gets mobility, like he gets a bit of movement speed. You see that from this like basically blue like transparent thing every time we crit. Let's see if I can get a crit up there. You see, I just ran faster. Whoop, let's use our ult here. See if, oh my god, I can't believe I'm actually. There we go. Thank you. But every time he crits, he deals, he gets this mobility. You can see this blue thing. So every time you get a critical hit in, then you actually run faster. The speed in which this movement speed is at is dependent on your attack speed. So that's why attack speed is actually really good on JHIN, because it allows you to kite a bit more, which is really cool. Additionally, the attack speed and crit that you get also increases your overall attack damage. All of this is from your passive. Your passive does quite a lot. I'm sorry that it is kind of confusing, but all you gotta know is really quickly your passive gives you 4 shots in your chamber. Last shot deals extra damage, and then attack speed gives you extra movement speed on your crits, and attack speed and crit also gives you plus attack damage. And the amount of attack damage you get from each of these is based on, let's get that one. Is based on level. So I think it goes from 4 to 44% of these stats that you get increase of attack damage. Anyway, that's enough for these stats and your passive. So yeah, it is pretty hard to farm with him just because of his slow attacks, but you gotta think ahead, but he has a really high base damage. Next up, we have his Q, and his Q is a really fun spell actually. It's called Dancing Daggers. And Dancing Daggers, what this thing does is basically that it fires, or not Dancing Daggers, wow, Dancing Grenade. I don't know how I just missaid that. It's called Dancing Grenade. And what it does is basically this. It jumps from one target to the other until it hit 4 targets. And if there are if there isn't 4 targets in range, then it just hits 3 and stop there. Pretty simple. And the cool thing about this thing is that For every target it kills, it gives 35% more damage to the next target, and this goes on. So ideally in like a laning phase, then a really cool thing is if you can, oh, we need to go help Drake. Then a really cool thing is if you can pop this thing on maybe the caster minions or damage the caster minions down, maybe even using your E, we'll get into that one, or just damaging them a bit down, and as you do this, whoop, gonna be able to snare that guy for them, nice. But as you do this, then yeah, wow, yeah, but as you do this, wow, that was hard to say. As you do this, then basically, oh, whoop. Goddamn, we're just fighting all the freaking time. Nice. As you damage this backline down, let's say that this is the backline that is up to the enemy. Then if you damage this backline down, even with your E or with your attacks, then at the end of it, you can unexpectedly fire in your Q on a target that's gonna die, so it bounces on, and if you can make it bounce to the enemy champion, you're gonna deal a good chunk of damage because each of the targets were killed, or at least some of them on the way. So if you damage them down such that your Q kills the minions and it kills 3 minions and then jumps to the champion, then you're gonna deal a heavy chunk of damage and it's gonna be a really good poke. So that's what your Q does. It's very effective. Always prioritize to throw this on a target that is about to die or is gonna die from it, because that really makes this thing snowball hard. Like if you do this in a team fight and it kills the first target and rolls on to all 4 other champions close by, or to 4 champions close by as well, then it's honestly just, it's gonna basically almost win you the fight just because of the amount of damage. It's at least gonna do a heavy chunk unless you're really far behind. You just see right there, it took off almost half of that guy's HP. I am not even kidding you. So it is really strong, and something you really need to consider using well. So your next ability is your W, and your W is called a Deadly Flourish. I think that's how you pronounce it. And Deadly Flourish, what this thing does is that it allows you to fire this shot. You can see distance is really far. And see if I can do it. If I take Smite Cast off, you can see how far this thing actually goes. It is super far. So you really got to think about that one. But what this thing does is that every time it hits a target that is either hit by your auto attacks, your spells, or an enemy spell, or no, a teammate spell. So if my pike grabs this guy or uses something else on him, it gets this this bullet eye, basically. I think that's what you call it, bullet eye on it. I'll just see if I can throw this. We'll see if we can make it go off. You can see that bullet eye, that's that orange thing. And if you hit your W on a target that has the orange bullet eye, then you snare them. So you can actually snare people at a very long distance. And this is very helpful. Also, as you guys saw before, then what I did was right here, they were fighting, and I think my pike was up there with someone else, and I just fired my W up there and helped them snare that guy. So it's a very useful thing to use. So really stay aware of this. This can both be used as an offensive measure for you, for peeling, and it can be used for just helping out in general, because the range is so freaking far. You can literally reach into your own jungle, so, or to the enemy jungle, basically. It's really far. So really think about this one. It deals a bit of damage too, but that's not really the primary reason to use it. Next up, we have our E, and our E is called Captive Audience, I think. And this ability is basically a bit similar to, I guess, Caitlyn trap, but it puts down this thing, and it actually lasts, I think it's 3 minutes. And whenever somebody runs into this one, they get the bullet eye thing on them, and they're slowed. Oh. Okay, so I'm gonna try and help out here. Okay. Fair enough. But whenever this thing is somebody runs over it, they instantly get the eye on them, or the bullet eye, such that you can snare them. If they're right on that one, whoop. And I have my ult as well if necessary. I think I might just, yeah, there we go. Okay, don't know if that was the right way to do it, but we got him. So every time somebody runs over this thing, then they become then they get the eye, and once it explodes, they get snared and slowed as well. Or not snared, wow. They don't get snared, they just get slowed and they take a good chunk of damage. I don't know why things are so hard for me today. And the E slows them. Whoop. Nice. And it's free kill. Nice, thank you. So as you guys see, this guy has a very nice follow-up with a support that can basically keep people a bit at bay, like keeping them a bit away from you, maybe putting a snare or something. You really want to try and use your W to chain with your support CC. But yeah, your E is really nice. Remember to put this thing down. It always, it also allows you to, or whenever you kill a champion, then it's gonna put one of these traps on the ground for you. So it's very nice. That chains very well together with, let's see what's by next. We need the Infinity Edge. I think that's what we're gonna go for next. But that chains very well together with your Qs. Whenever you kill something with your Q, then it also puts down the trap for you. And if somebody else is close, yeah, you can see how this kind of snowballs, right? If your Q kills something, it deals extra damage. And if something is killed, then it puts down its trap, and you can put down traps yourself. And also these traps, it gives you the ability to snare or people with your W. So just overall really nice. But your E chains very well together with your W as well, because it allows you to put down the trap that slows them and makes it easier to hit with your W. But most commonly you want to use your W with your support. So chain it together with whatever your support has of CC. In my case, Pyke has his stun. So I'm gonna every time he tries to snare, or if it tries to stun, then I am gonna follow up with my snare. That is my objective as JHIN here. Next up we have JHIN's ult, and this is honestly one of the freaking coolest ults out there. I'm not even kidding you, this is one of my absolute favorite ults. It's so fun, and you can use this in a variety of different ways. But his ult is called Curtain Calls, and that sounds so freaking badass. Alright, so we got a good snare in there. I'm trying to distance him a little bit. Alright, we're gonna swap target here, because we won't be able to hit that guy. Okay. And I'm gonna be able to just take that kill down. Don't have my W yet. As soon as we do, I might be able to get that. Nice. Alright, so your W is called Curtain Calls, and this spell is awesome. Like, it makes you feel like a real freaking gunslinger. And what this thing does is that it basically zooms your camera out, and every time you click your R, your ult, you fire off a shot. And each of these shots do a heavy chunk of damage, and the last one has 100% and the last one crits and deals damage based on max health as well. So this thing does a huge chunk of damage, and every time you hit with either one of the shots, you deal a good chunk of slow. Like, you slow up to, I think it's 80% plus some extra depending on their HP. But this allows this thing to not only be a good gap closer if somebody's running away, or you have to snipe someone. You can basically kill any squishy with it at max range if you're in a good place in the game. But it can also be used basically as a measure for just hitting a target before, like, imagine you're in the laning phase and somebody's trying to push in, or push in, and your support's not there. He runs up through like blue buff, whatever, and then what you do is you use your ult before he comes down and shows himself, such that your enemy actually doesn't have any chance to get away, because you fire off the shot, he gets 80% slow, and you just keep firing these shots so your support gets down there, he puts a stun on it, and he's basically dead. He's gonna be dead for sure. So it's a really nice way of setting up kills as well. You can use your ult, both of that for gap closing. Sadly, our enemy just surrendered. This was really not planned for. I hope this game was gonna last a bit longer, but I hope this kind of shows how to play JHIN, and it gave you kind of a general idea of this champion. It is an extremely fun champion to play, but it is not an easy one, but yeah, definitely a fun one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you learned something from it, then make sure to smash that like button, and if you're not already, then make sure to subscribe down below. It would really help me out a ton, and thank you guys for all the support lately, and as always, stay awesome, have fun, and take it easy, guys.